Hi friends, so today we are making a cheesecake. So springform pan, whatever, is lined and ready to go. I have got 100 grams of butter here on my stove, just on medium heat just to get melted. Yesterday I baked some keto friendly sugar, well no added sugar muffins. They've been delicious. Nick and I we're not going back on a diet, but we are being a little bit more, less treats, more treats. We love treats. I didn't film these though, I was just testing out a recipe and yeah, they were pretty good. But fun thing with this cheesecake is, one, is for my dad's birthday. His birthday is tomorrow, so I wanted to get that made today. Two, I asked him what type and flavor cake. He said any type of cake and a coffee flavor. I think a mocha, it will still have the coffee and I'm gonna make the coffee part strong, but I think a mocha cheesecake would be beautiful. I know he loves cheesecake, so that's what we're making today. And three is, I'm not following a recipe. I'm just gonna kind of wing it. I've made cheesecakes plenty of times in my life, and I did look up a recipe, well, a few recipes just for like the gists of things, and what I already had in my mind of what I thought is kind of along the same lines as these recipes. So we're just gonna experiment and hopefully it works out good, because I'll be taking it to the house tomorrow. Mum's hosting a lunch to celebrate my dad for his birthday. It's gonna be fun, so we'll see how we go. So to start off with, we already have our butter melting. I'm bringing down my little mini food processor, food chopper thing. If you don't have one of these, you can, which I usually always do, is just get like a Ziploc bag, put our biscuits in there. These are the biscuits we'll be using today. It's just Scotch fingers, purely because this is what I had. Thinking about the flavor, a mocha cheesecake, I think Oreos or a chocolate ripple biscuit, having a chocolate base would be quite nice, but I don't have it. This is what I have, this is what I'm using. But yeah, you can put your biscuits in a Ziploc bag and bang it with a rolling pin or a meat tenderizer, but I got this, so I'm going to use this. So this is a 250 gram packaging of biscuits. We'll use the whole lot, and just to help my little machine out a little bit, I will break it up a little bit, and I might do it into, I might be able to get all the biscuits in. So as you can see, it's nice and fine. You don't have to get it this fine if you don't want to. I personally prefer the texture when it's nice and fine. That's why I prefer to now use this tool. But before I had this, smashing it in a bag with a rolling pin, it still works perfectly fine. So all my biscuits in a bowl here. I'm just going to add a tablespoon of sugar to our biscuits and give that a quick mix to get that combined. And now our 100 grams of melted butter. And give this a very good mix. And into our tray. And I'm just going to be pressing down with the back of the spoon. I'm going to go with a thick base rather than up the sides. And then this is again just personal preference. This is a good thing about making things scratch made compared to buying it from the store, is if your preference is to have a base and not up the side, then that's how you have to make it. Even if you follow a recipe and it states to put it up the side, you generally probably don't have to if you don't want to. So I like to just have it purely as a biscuit base. So that's what I'm gonna make. And now we've got our base leveled out and smooth and compacted. We're gonna put this now into the fridge. It doesn't have to chill for a certain amount of time. It's just be handier to put it in the fridge just so it can start to chill and harden up, get that butter back to being hard. So then when we put the cheesecake filling on top, it doesn't lift up the crumbs. So this will go into the fridge, and then we'll start our cheesecake filling. In our pot here that we just used that had the butter in, I'm just going to use that same pot and we're going to melt down our chocolate. So I'm using milk chocolate. You can use either milk chocolate or dark chocolate. We want 200 grams of chocolate, so I'm just going to break this up. You can tell it's kind of got melted a little bit in my pantry. It's formed a funny shape, but it will be fine. But yeah, whoop. the chocolate is perfectly fine. So I'm going to break them up into the cubes, pop it in, and we're going to melt this on a low heat because we want to get it melted, but we also don't want much heat to it. So we're just going to make sure just to watch it, and yeah, the little bits of butter left in the pot, that's going to be fine. So we're going to add 200 grams of chocolate in the pot. Having a couple of grams over is fine. So we're going to put this just on a low heat just to get this melted. Sorry for the background noise as well. I don't know if it will pick up on the camera, but the sound, Nick's got himself a new tool and he's doing a car project thing. But it's fun formulating this recipe, or just kind of experimenting with my knowledge, I suppose, with cheesecakes and cheesecake making. And I mean, I'm not a fantastic cheesecake maker by any means, especially baked cheesecakes. When it comes to baked cheesecakes, I fail every time. So I like the no bake ones, and because it's got the chocolat's going to harden up the filling, there's no need to add gelatin either, which working with gelatin I'm no good at. So that's another thing why, well, one, I decided to choose a mocha flavor rather than just purely a coffee flavor. Like my dad requested a coffee, we were still going to get that coffee flavor, but it's just going to be, one, an easier process of a cake to make for myself. Two, it will still taste the coffee, and I just think it will go really nice, the mocha. And we don't have to worry about gelatin, which is another bonus and a win for us. So we're going to make sure to keep mixing this chocolate so it doesn't burn. You can use a double boiler method if you're more comfortable with that. Ew, there's a fly, go away. Yeah, if you're more comfortable with the double boiler method, definitely go ahead and do that. Or if you want to melt your chocolate in the microwave, do that. It doesn't really matter how you melt your chocolate. I'm just using it like this because I already got this pot dirty, and I'm just doing it on a low heat. White chocolate's a bit more trickier. I don't trust myself melting white chocolate like this. I definitely prefer the double boiler. But again, just whatever you're comfortable with doing. But if this is on a low heat and melting down slowly, and on a pan that's not going to stick, like a non-stick pan, it's pretty foolproof. I'm now adding another pot to my stove, and we're just going to get that not boiling, but we do want it pretty much simmering, and that's going to make our water to dissolve our coffee. We'll only probably use, I don't know, a tablespoon or two, just like a splash of water to dissolve the coffee. But I think with this chocolate now, I'm going to leave it on the hob still, but I'm going to turn it off so it'll continue to melt the remaining, but it won't get too hot. Another thing that I done yesterday to help us is I took out the cream cheese. We want 2 packagings of cream cheese, or 500 grams total. So that's nice in room temperature. This morning I took out the cream. I wouldn't want to leave cream out overnight, but you do want to bring this temperature down a bit as well. And butter, I just put that here in case the butter had open wasn't enough. But the butter I had open was exactly 100 grams, so technically I don't really need that. But that was just purely to melt it for the base. But we pretty much got everything out here ready. I would add vanilla if I had vanilla, but I don't. So I think while we wait for the water for the coffee and wait for the chocolate, we can start beating up the cream cheese. And I've also just measured out 100 grams of icing sugar. So as you can see, it's not quite a cup. It's higher than 3/4 or higher than 2/3 of a cup, but it's not quite a full cup. I just want to, formulating this recipe, just keep with whole round numbers, and I'm sure this is going to be plenty sweetness mixed with the chocolate as well. But just to make it as a simple recipe, so I suppose if you prefer to do cup measurements, you can do like a cup. It'll be close enough, but by weight it's 100 grams. Using my hand beater is just my preferred way to mix things up. I'm gonna beat it for a couple of minutes until it's nice and smooth. Also want to remember to scrape down after each time we turn off the beaters to add in an ingredient, just to make sure it all gets nicely and incorporated and smoothed. So now we're going to add in our 100 grams of icing sugar, and we'll beat this until it's nice and combined. Now I'm going to add 300 ml of cream. This is light cream because this is, again, what I had in my fridge. So this is what I'm using. I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference whether you use regular or the light. And again, beat again till it's smooth. Alright, so now pretty much what we're going to add in is our chocolate and our coffee. So, just grabbing a mug down, we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of espresso. Oops. So I'm just going to I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of instant coffee, whatever instant coffee you usually use. This is our favorite, this is what we have. So 2 tablespoons of that. If you don't want it such a strong coffee flavor, I'm hoping this is going to make it pretty strong in coffee. Because like I said, it's going to be a mocha, but I still wanted that strong coffee punch to it. So if you don't want that strong coffee punch, we just want more of a subtle mocha or more on the chocolate end, then I'll just recommend to use 1 tablespoon. And our water is warm enough where it's going to dissolve the coffee, but it's not going to it's not too warm. So just a splash. That's probably about 3 tablespoons of water there. And add it in. And just like all the other times, we've added in ingredients, so we're just going to beat it until it's nice and smooth and combine. I mean, this whole mixture is pretty smooth at this point. But it's just more so now combining everything together nice and well. Now, if I was using vanilla, which I wish I was using vanilla, I just didn't realise I ran out. Well, I forgot I ran out. I would have added it either with the cream or with, and just like, I would say 2 teaspoons of vanilla, or with the coffee just now, because it's only a little bit of liquid and you don't really need to add that and then mix it all in. Like, it can go in with another ingredient. But this is so nice and lush, like yum. So excited for it. So now adding the chocolate, I just want to feel the temperature of this. Okay, this is pretty cold. So now adding the chocolate. What I'm hoping doesn't happen is that the chocolate starts to set before I get to combine it all. So that might happen, it might not. But if it does, then I guess we just got little bits of chocolate. Like, it's not going to make the chocolate curdle or anything, it's just purely just going to be set. So it might be little pieces rather than a smooth consistency. So we'll just see if I do this right or not. I'm trying to scrape out as much of this chocolate as possible. That's good enough. And I should have probably took my spatula out, but that's okay. Oops, I'm making a mess now.
So I was concerned with the cream cheese mixture being quite cool, that as soon as the chocolate went in or started to mix, that the chocolate would harden and not incorporate nicely into the cheesecake. But lucky for me, that did not happen. It mixed perfectly, as you can see, so lush and just amazing. Poured it into my tin and that went back into the fridge.
Alright, so that's pretty much all the work we need to do for this cheesecake for today. Very simple. I have this chocolate ganache to top the cheesecake with. I'm not going to top it until the cheesecake is set. And probably like an hour or 2 before we want to serve the cheesecake is when I put this ganache on. We made this ganache together in a video. I'm trying to think what video. I know we done it together. I just can't think of the video. But I'll figure it out and I'll leave it down below if you want to see how I made this chocolate ganache. So I'm just going to use what we have left. But otherwise, to make the chocolate ganache how I like to do it at least, and how I made this one, is equal parts chocolate, dark chocolate as well for the ganache. So equal parts of chocolate and cream. I want to boil, well not boil, but heat up the cream so it's nice and steamy and warm, and then pour it over the chocolate, let that sit for a couple of minutes, and then fold it in together. So that's what I done it for. Our budget challenge, our theme night on our budget challenge, that's what I made this for. There we go. So I knew we did do it together. So if you want to see me making that and just that video in general, that'll be linked down below. So I'm not going to make ganache for this cake. I got it. It's still fine and perfectly good to use. And I don't know, this is probably just under a cup. Probably a cup would be more ideal, a cup of ganache. But this is close enough. I'm just going to use this. And it gets that used up as well. Which since that video I have made waffles and we had the ganache on that as well, and that was delicious. But yeah, so that's pretty much all for now. And even the decoration of the cake is just going to be the ganache, and it's just going to be it. So you've got your 3 layers. You'll have your ganache layer, your filling, and your biscuit layer. I'm not going to like pipe cream or do anything fancy. I'm just going to keep it plain and simple. But tomorrow we'll pick back up when I put the ganache on top and plate it up, and hopefully, it is worried. I feel like I should have done maybe 300 grams of chocolate. It is a worry that it might not set properly. Maybe it's a little less chocolate, which, while we're here, let's lick the spatula to taste the filling. It smells strong coffee. The taste, you get the chocolate and then it's the coffee. That is really strong. That's good. That is really strong with the coffee, just like I wanted. But yeah, definitely the chocolate first and then the coffee aftertaste. That chocolate ganache is going to help to lever it out to be more like a mocha as well. So if you don't want such a punch of coffee, definitely just do 1 tablespoon, and again just a splash, just enough to cover the coffee. But otherwise, we'll pick back up tomorrow.
So unfortunately for my dad's birthday present, he got sickness. So this is now, I think, like 2 days later, maybe even 3 days later. I'm not too sure because he was unwell, but he was feeling better this day. So I went to my parents' house. Here I've just taken off the pan. I did run a knife through it, and I just decided to tip the ganache on and thought I'll like drizzle it over rather than setting the ganache on top and letting that sit in the fridge for a further couple of hours. The cheesecake was delicious. Everyone loved it. The mocha coffee ratio was strong, and it was incredible. We all love cheesecake, so here's me just posing for a thumbnail, but the lighting just was not it. So we had leftover chicken and veg soup. My mum makes the best chicken and veg soup when you're sick. It is the best thing ever. Love it. And then yeah, there is the cheesecake. I'm not a cake decorator. I can make it and it tastes good. I can't make it look pretty. I didn't show it sliced until halfway eating it, and then I remembered. Mum also had like some other dessert. I can't remember what this is, to be honest, but it was a delicious night.
Alright, so I'm back home from my parents now. It was a delicious soup for dinner. Unfortunately, it wasn't like a big cook-up. I'm pretty sure my mum had planned because my dad was unwell, so he got soup and there was leftovers, and it was really delicious. Cheesecake was delicious. I was very happy with how that turned out. I was just disappointed on the ugliness on top. Decorating cakes have never been my strong point in any kind of cake. And because I didn't really look up a recipe or any pictures or anything, I didn't really have the inspiration on how to decorate it. I thought if just leaving it plain with the drizzle, that looked cool, but it didn't look the best. But regardless, it was delicious, and I'm very proud how it tasted. And yeah, so thanks so much for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoy, subscribe down below so you don't miss out my future videos. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!